realized recently that I'm kind of a runner, but I don't think of myself as a runner. Like, what is a runner? Because, like, I don't know, runners, like, wear the right shoes and you go for long runs and talk about running with other runners. What do runners do? I don't know. My dad's a runner. I always thought of my dad as a runner. He had like a subscription to Runner's World and he'd go running all the time. And I hated running as a kid. Like, hated it. I hated it as an adult. It wasn't until, 12 years ago or something that I even started doing it like pseudo seriously, but you know, never long enough to really reap the benefits. Not for a while, at least. But now all of a sudden I'm like, wait, like I'm wearing clothes that dry quickly. I'm putting on like, 70 on average miles a month. I don't even know what the actual average is. Like, what? Am I a runner? I mean, I like to run, don't get me wrong. I actually really like running a lot now, and I need it for like emotional health, physical health, just my well-being in general. It seems like it's pretty necessary, and it's part of what got me through confinement, and part of the reason I ran a lot more through confinement or lockdown or quarantine or stay-at-home or whatever the heck you want to call it. And I want to keep it going, and in conjunction with getting up earlier in the morning, that makes me feel like even more of a runner. And what makes it anything? Like, how do you decide and declare who you are to the world when, I mean, A, who cares, and B, how do you decide? I mean, if you think about it in the greater sense of identity, I'm taking this way too far, way too fast, I realize, but if you think about it in terms of identity, when somebody asks you, who are you? At least in English, and maybe just as an American, that's a question that's like always like, who am I? And so instead we ask, what do you do? And then we tend to default to like whatever we do professionally, which is also a really complicated question for me. And I kind of default to, I don't know, it depends on the situation. I've got a few different answers for that, but like, why do we do that? And do you think I'm a runner? Do you think of me as a runner? Because I don't think of myself as a runner. I barely think of myself as very many things at all, to be honest, at this point. But I thought we'd talk about that today because I just kind of had that flash of like, wait, am I a runner? No, yeah, no,
Side note, if I'd been thinking this through ahead of time, if I'd thought about doing this video before I actually went out on a run, I would have planned this to be one of those movie montages where it makes absolutely no sense and the guy's teleporting across town. Have you seen one of those movies where you know the town well enough to know that guy jumping from rooftop to rooftop just like completely teleported across the city and then back? Those kinds of things. I might have to make one of those montages one of these days just for fun. Keep your eyes out. It'll have to be a long run of a day, but sounds good. Anyways, back to this.
So, identity is one of those things that just, I'm trying to figure it out for myself. But I've been thinking about it through the lens of running. So when I started running, it was probably after college that I actually really started. Like, I was athletic into high school and then I just kind of dropped out of sports, focused more on video. Went to college, got kind of fat, lost all of my, self-respect. Well, I didn't lose all of my self-respect, but I lost a good chunk of it. I also just felt like really, at least on that physical activity side, I kind of thought like, oh man, I'm never gonna get it back. I'm never gonna be able to exercise again. I'm just always gonna be a fat lard and look back and was like, oh, I wasn't a fat lard before, even though I thought I was. Dang it, I really screwed up. So it wasn't until I moved to Nice that I really started running because we had the boardwalk there and I needed, I could feel I needed the exercise and I wanted to try. But also because I had an uncle who had, I think, a mild heart attack. I don't actually know how bad the heart attack was, but when I was a kid and he was in his 30s, he had a heart attack and I was like, oh gosh, I gotta get my heart pumping. I may never be able to lose this weight, but I need to, not die from a heart attack when I hit 30. Maybe it's because I'm turning 35 in a couple of days, which is kind of crazy. I'm gonna be closer to 40 than 30 in a couple of days. That's bananas. It doesn't feel that way and I don't think about it that much, but obviously when you're actually turning a new age, a year older, you do kind of think about it a little bit. Got a car behind us. Hopefully they don't mind going a little slower. But on the running side, it started out as like a heart health motivation and then did turn into like, I need to do this to try and lose weight someday motivation, and then just kind of slowly became, I don't know, part of my lifestyle, I guess. You got your
our seasonal rock on. Hi.
My side? To my side. You won't look. There we go.
Kind of like Wally.
He went deep.
I don't know. Nobody cared who he was until they put on the masks. Also, Martin, your package made it. You don't have to worry. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for this package. I'm gonna save it for a video though, but I'm gonna make that video very soon because I really want to open it. Hey, I know you guys. How's it going?
Where are you going, you coolio?
Where are you guys going? Well, I was already there, so you're square. What's up, Charlotte?
Hello.
Hi, good. How are you?
No, I did a workout with you.
Oh, good. I was. Okay, that was fun. I love people. There are some great people around. Okay, anyways, I missed out on this morning's workout class apparently. Also, the wind is pretty brutal, so let's take this inside. It's already open because the Peloton crew didn't get my message that Martin had sent this to me, and it didn't have my name on it, it had his name on it, and so they were very curious, and thankfully they didn't do anything horrible to it. I can't wait to open this. I'm gonna wait to open this because if I open it, I want to open it so badly right now. We're gonna wait. I think the 2 points that I made earlier are kind of the central points to this whole conversation though, and that is who cares and how do you decide? Who cares? Ultimately, we all care. You know, identity is an important part of being human. Figuring out who we are, why we're here, what it is that we're supposed to do with our lives before they come to their, unceremonious end. I mean, if you're Elvis, it's kind of, I actually think it's kind of cool that he died on the toilet, to be honest. Like, that's memorable. You don't remember how most people died, just remember that they died. But I think the main thing is to figure out what do you care about when you're answering the question. Who am I might be too deep of a question to get into in a YouTube video, at least this YouTube video. But we identify in different ways. Like, people do identify themselves as cyclists or runners, painters, accountants, whatever it is. You know, we all, when people ask us, like, who are you, what do you do, whatever, we have kind of our defaults that we run to. And I know that people will talk about it in terms of, like, relationships. There are spiritual ways of looking at it. There are just purely self-made ways of looking at it. But at the end of the day, I think that whether you're trying to figure out how to define yourself, what group you might fit into that you define yourself by, or whatever that ends up looking like, it is an important thing to think through and to figure out. And if you're feeling a little bit lost and like, I don't know where do I fit, that's a legitimate thing to look into. For me, I just don't feel like a runner because to me, runners are like lean, mean, exercising machines, and I got a little bit too much pudge on me to be a real runner. I think that's part of it. It's a little bit of a body image thing, but I think it's also just something that I enjoy doing, but it's not, I don't identify with it in a sense. Like, I would never say I'm a runner. And so when people ask me, like, what do you do? And what's important? I guess that's the ultimate thing. Maybe I'm just running around in circles right now, but I had that thought of like, man, am I a runner? And then you're thinking about like age, and you think about the ways that you identify yourself, like as a son or a father, a brother, a regular at a coffee shop. Who knows? And I think that relationships are really important. You probably know that at this point I'm really focused on trying to figure out how to really invest in my community in 2020 since we're kind of forced to be here together, but it's also a good opportunity to take that time. And my 35th year not looking anything like I would have ever guessed it would have. Like if you had asked me when I was 20, what would my life look like when I was 35? I don't know that I would have had a very good answer, but I know that I wouldn't have thought of myself as being like a single balding man living in Paris. The Paris part might have been great. The balding part I was hoping against. The single part I definitely didn't think was going to last this long. I'm going for the record, by the way. And so how I hold myself in relation to others and how I identify myself is something that's a little bit up in the air. Earlier I said it was kind of complicated, like when people ask me what you do, which is a much more common and useful question, really. When you ask who someone is, it can mean so many different things. But even when people ask me what I do, you know, like, how you answer that determines how they see you to a degree, and it definitely determines the questions that come after. If I talk about being a writer, it's only about 2 questions deep after life, like, oh, what do you write? And then it's like, oh, science fiction fantasy, huh? Nerd. And then they get out as fast as they can. I mean, occasionally people are interested in it, but like the writing side of things, very few people are really interested in. If you say videos, people kind of want to dig a little bit more and figure it out. And as soon as you say, oh, well, you know, I make YouTube videos, then it's off to the races. And usually the first thing people ask is like, you can make money on YouTube? But because I don't want to necessarily put myself into a particular box on a particular day, I find myself thinking about that in terms of like, but what am I? Like, am I more of a writer? Am I a storyteller? Am I a YouTuber? Am I whatever? And as I, age up a little bit here, what is it that I most identify with, and who is it that I most want to be? And what do I want the future to look like, the next 30 years, the next 40 years? Like, what are the things that are most important to me? And what they are honestly, when I think about it that way, the things that are most important to me aren't myself. Like, yeah, I would like to trim down a little bit. Like, I'd like to have a nicer physique just to do it. Because I've never had a body that I was really proud of. I've made some milestones and I've made some changes that I'm proud of. But that's kind of the appeal on the physical fitness side of things. But more it's about celebrating the fact that I can move and celebrating the fact that I have a body that I can use, that I can go for runs, that I can go for bike rides, that I can dance, that I can do whatever. That's kind of more what's in it for me, and because it helps me to express myself in a greater context of relationship with other people. So to bring this all back about, am I a runner or aren't I don't think that matters so much as it matters that I want to be a good friend. I want to be a good son. I want to be a good brother. I want to be a good brother-in-law. And that's the deeper question that I'm really digging into, because if our identities are so tied up in what other people see and how other people perceive us, it's not completely separate from that. As much as we might get to know ourselves and really come to understand ourselves, and that can be something separate from what the world sees, there's an element of it as well that is how we're perceived is to a degree a mirror of who we are. It may not be accurate. It may be horribly wrong at times. But it's also, I think, to me, more interesting to think in those terms right now of how do I come alongside my friends who are struggling, anybody that's having a rough time of it. How do I invest in my community? How do I make this place a little bit better? Because, I don't know if I'm halfway through my life. I don't know if I'm, a third of the way through my life. I guess we'll find out. But I do know that I'm not so concerned in the sense of leaving like some great legacy that people will look at me and remember me. I think that in the end, we're all mythologized to some degree or another, and nobody in the future is ever going to really know me. They're never going to know me in the same way that maybe you have a chance to know me, or definitely that my friends and family have a chance to know me. They might be able to see the fruit of my life. They might be able to see that I made a small impact on my community, which made a small impact on a larger community, and that there was something good and healthy that happened there. And they may never know it was me. They may never know that I had anything to do with it. But that might then benefit them in a way that's, better than me trying to decide and brand myself as runner, YouTuber, vlogger man with a mustache, which who knows how long that's going to last either. So all that to say, I'm thinking a lot about these things as I age up. Also, since it's maybe tomorrow I'll make a little birthday video, because today when you're watching this is the day before my birthday, but if nothing else, this whole COVID experience and lockdown, post-lockdown, the wildly different experiences between my homeland and my current home has given me a lot of space to really think. And I feel like I'm coming to a place where I'm starting to hit a stride of that. I just feel like if I'm going to come out the other side of this in a remotely healthy way, and maybe even better and stronger than I went into it, which is not impossible because I was really burned out last year, and in another year, I hopefully am in a much better place. I want to be thinking in terms of like, well, okay, in a year from now, in 2 years from now, in 5 years from now, what are the most important things for me? Are they professional accomplishments? No. Are they like monetary gains or, I don't know, increasing clout or anything like that? And not really. Like, for me, I want to make sure that here in my home in Paris, I have a depth of relationship, friendship, and community that will sustain me no matter what comes. And there's just something more deeply satisfying in that than, I don't know, in all the big dreams and ambitions that I have, which I'm holding on to and I'm still going to work very hard for, but I don't know. I want to fall in love with my friends and family in a different way than I have before, and in a way that I've not let myself for a long time. Bet you didn't see that coming, did you? When you clicked on this video, you were like, we're going to talk about exercise. Life is good, and it's hard, and it comes with its challenges. It comes with its highs and its lows. Today, it's thankfully one of those higher days, and it provides me with a little bit of that appreciation for just everyone that is in my life, and I'll be thinking about that over the next few days. Reflecting as I hit my. I feel like there's got to be a word for 35 that's not 35, but you know what I mean. I have a lot to be grateful for, and I have you to be grateful for too. So thanks for sitting here and watching and listening to me all ramble on about belonging and identity and all that jazz. And thanks to Evan DeLay, who's my patron producer for today. Speaking of thanking people and being grateful for the people in my life. We crossed a milestone last week of 550 patrons. So there's a poll on Patreon right now for a patron-only live stream that I'm going to do to thank them and to celebrate them. as I celebrate getting a little bit older. Thanks, Evan, for being a part of that crew, and thanks to all my patrons who have either come back or always stayed with me or have just been here. It means a lot. It means the world to me, so I appreciate that. Thinking about you as well. And I'm thankful for the rest of you sitting here watching today's video, and I hope that you're having a good day wherever it is you are, and that maybe as you're thinking about how you fit in the world, maybe you're not thinking about this, maybe it's just me, but maybe you're thinking about how you fit in the world and how you fit in the grand scheme of things. I don't know, I hope that my thoughts are something to at least bounce off of and maybe, push you in a good direction. I don't know where I'm going with that. Anyways, I hope you're having a great day, and I'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning for what is not my birthday, but by the time you're seeing it will be my birthday. I'm going to take a day off one of these days too as a birthday present to myself, just to like sleep, and I don't know, maybe I'll do that on my actual birthday. We'll find out. Anyways, I'll see you tomorrow.